Today we're getting into excerpts from the audiobook of the Ramayana, chapter 6, which is titled Sita.
Right, Sita. So this chapter, it's all about her early life, her origins.
Exactly. It gives you that essential background, her birth, how she was raised, and, well, the really quite unique story around finding her a husband.
Okay.
Our goal here is to sort of unpack the key details from this chapter, show why these early events are so important for the whole epic story of the Ramayana.
Got it. So let's start with her father, King Janaka of Mithila. He wasn't just your average king, was he?
No, absolutely not. The source material really stresses his high status. You see, when Dasaratha, Rama's father, planned this big yaga, this sacrifice, to pray for children, he didn't just send messengers to invite Janaka, he sent his ministers. That tells you something, doesn't it? The level of respect Janaka commanded.
Wow, okay. But it wasn't just political power, right? He was learned, too.
Oh, deeply learned. The text says Janaka knew the Sastras and Vedas. These are, the core scriptures covering everything from law and ethics to philosophy.
Huge bodies of knowledge.
Right. He knew them as well as any rishi, any sage. And what's really fascinating, he was the favorite pupil of Yajnavalkya.
Ah, the eponymous connection.
Precisely. Their philosophical discussions. That's the heart of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And there's more. Sri Krishna himself, in the Bhagavad Gita, points to Janaka as the perfect example of a karma yogin.
So someone who acts selflessly, focusing on the duty, not the reward.
Exactly that. Acting without attachment to the results. So, Sita's father. A figure of incredible intellectual and spiritual depth. It kind of sets a high bar.
Definitely. Which makes Sita's birth story even more, unusual. Not exactly standard royal procedure.
Not at all. It was quite miraculous, really. The text describes Janaka wanting to perform a yaga, and he's plowing the site himself.
The king himself plowing.
Yeah, which, again, tells you something about him, doesn't it? His hands-on approach. Anyway, while he's clearing the land, he finds this incredibly beautiful baby girl just lying there among some shrubs.
Finds her, and his reaction?
Well, he didn't have any children of his own. So he immediately saw her as a gift from Bhudevi, the goddess Earth.
Yeah.
He called her a treasure, took her straight to his wife, who was just as overjoyed. They accepted her instantly.
That immediate acceptance, it feels significant, like she was inherently special.
It really highlights her value right from the start, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And being found in a furrow, it links her so directly to the earth itself, a connection that keeps coming up.
You can see that. And her beauty is described in really vivid terms, too.
Oh, yeah. Very poetic. The source links her beauty to, the best of nature. Emerald fields, majestic mountains, rivers, the ocean, as if she embodies all that natural splendor.
Almost elemental?
Exactly. Kamban, the Tamil poet, even went so far as to say her beauty surpassed Lakshmi's, the goddess of wealth.
That's quite a statement, and it really emphasizes how extraordinary she was seen to be.
It does. Something to keep in mind as her story unfolds.
So, okay, she grows up, this divinely beautiful, revered princess. Finding her a husband must have been a challenge for Janaka.
Oh, a huge challenge. The text mentions his sadness as she grew older, the thought of having to part with her.
Classic parent's dilemma.
Right, and he really struggled to find a prince he felt was, worthy of her. Lots of kings came asking for her hand, drawn by her famous beauty, obviously.
But Janaka wasn't impressed.
He wasn't satisfied. He felt none of them were quite right for Sita.
So how did he solve this? Because he came up with a rather unique plan involving a special bow.
Yes. This is fascinating. Instead of just picking someone based on status or alliances, Janaka decided on a test of worthiness.
Okay.
He remembered this divine bow he possessed. It originally belonged to Rudra, that's Shiva, and it had been given to Janaka's ancestor by Varuna after a successful yaga.
A divine weapon, not just any old bow then.
Definitely not. The text is very clear. Ordinary men couldn't even move it, let alone string it. It was incredibly heavy and powerful.
So he basically set an impossible task.
Pretty much. Janaka made a proclamation. Sita would marry only the prince who could lift this bow, bend it, and string it.
Wow. That's more than just a test of strength, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a test of exceptional character, divine favor perhaps. Setting an incredibly high standard. You had to be truly extraordinary.
And did anyone even come close?
Well, the text says many princes tried. They came from all over, lured by Sita's beauty, but they all failed, miserably. Couldn't even budge the bow.
So a lot of disappointed suitors heading home.
Exactly. It really highlights just how exceptional Sita was perceived to be, needing a husband who was equally uniquely capable. The repeated failures just emphasize how rare that kind of worthiness was.
Which naturally leads us to the arrival of some key figures. The sage Viswamitra, and with him, 2 young princes, Rama and Lakshmana. How do they enter the story?
Well, Viswamitra, this highly respected sage, was traveling from his hermitage, Siddhashrama, towards Mithila, and Rama and Lakshmana were accompanying him.
Okay.
There's this lovely little detail in the text, actually. It says the animals and birds from Viswamitra's ashram tried to follow him when he left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shows his connection to nature, I guess.
It does paint a nice picture.
Yeah.
And their journey itself seems to have some significant moments even before they reach Janaka's court.
Like what?
Well, they stopped overnight by the river Sona, and Viswamitra told the princes the history of that place. Then the next day, they crossed another river, reached the Ganges, the Ganga, by noon.
Rituals by the Ganga.
Yes, they performed ritual bathing. The rishis with them made offerings to their ancestors. They even set up a sort of temporary camp and improvised ashrama, did their prayers, had a meal.
Sounds quite serene.
It does. And then the princes asked Viswamitra to tell them a story. The story of the Ganga.
The story within the story. This is where we get into the river's origins and King Sagara's lineage, right?
Exactly. Seems like a bit of a detour, but it actually adds a lot of context to the world Rama and Sita inhabit. It enriches the background for you.
Okay, so give us the quick version. The Ganga's tale.
So Ganga was the elder daughter of Himavan, king of the mountains, and Manaka. Her sister was Uma, who, became Shiva's wife.
Right.
Ganga herself was asked for by the Devas, the celestial beings, and she went to live up in their realm, Swarga.
Okay, divine origins there too. And King Sagara, how does he connect? He was an ancestor of Rama, wasn't he?
Yes, from Ayodhya. He'd been childless for a long time.
Yeah.
So he and his 2 wives, Kasini and Sumati, went off to the Himalayas to perform tapas, intense spiritual practice.
And they got a boon.
They did. Sage Brigu was pleased and granted them blessings. Kasini would have 1 son who would continue the family line, but Sumati, she would have 60,000 sons.
60,000, that's a lot of sons.
Quite the contrast, isn't it? And that's what happened. Kasini had Asamanjas. Sumati gave birth to, the text describes it as a mass, which then divided into 60,000 tiny babies who had to be raised by nurses.
Wow. And how did these sons turn out, particularly the 60,000?
Well, Asamanjas, the single son, unfortunately turned out to be quite cruel. He used to throw children into the river Sarayu. He was eventually banished by Sagara.
Oh dear.
But his son, Sagara's grandson, Amsuman, he was the complete opposite. Brave, virtuous, kind. Everyone liked him.
Okay, so a mix of characters there. And this leads to the story about a horse sacrifice.
Right. This is a pivotal part of the side story. King Sagara decided to perform a grand Ashwamedha Yaga, a horse sacrifice. Very prestigious. Amsuman, the good grandson, was put in charge of guarding the special sacrificial horse.
Sounds important. What went wrong?
Indra, the king of the Devas. Yeah. He got worried, as the Devas often did, about mortals gaining too much power through these big sacrifices.
So divine interference.
Yes. Indra disguised himself as a Rakshasa, a demon, and stole the horse.
Sneaky. So the sacrifice was in jeopardy.
Completely. Sagara was distraught. Losing the horse was not just disruptive, it was considered a great sin, a huge shame. So he ordered his 60,000 sons to find that horse, no matter what. Search the entire earth.
60,000 angry princes searching the world. I can't imagine that went smoothly.
It didn't. They were frantic, destructive. The text says they started digging up the earth, disrespecting everything and everyone in their path. They earned a lot of hatred.
Yikes. Did they find the horse?
Eventually, yes. After searching the surface world, they were told to search the netherworld, Katala. And down there, they found it. The horse was grazing peacefully near a sage, deep in meditation.
Uh-oh. Let me guess, they jumped to conclusion.
Big time. This sage was Kapila, who was actually an avatar of Vishnu. But the princes didn't know or care. They just saw the horse and assumed he was the thief.
Oh no.
Stormed up to him, shouting accusations, calling him a fake yogi, showing absolutely no respect. They disturbed his deep meditation.
And Kapila?
He simply opened his eyes, and the power that emanated from his gaze instantly turned all 60,000 princes into heaps of ash.
Wow, just like that, 60,000 gone.
Just like that. And then the text reveals Indra's clever, perhaps cruel, plan. He had deliberately left the horse near Kapila, knowing the sage's power and predicting the prince's rash behavior.
So Indra basically set them up. That's quite a grim story.
It is, a very stark illustration of the consequences of disrespect and, rash judgment, and the complex games the divas sometimes played.
Okay, so pulling back from that intense side story, what does all this Sita's really unique birth, Janaka's impossible challenge, and this whole backstory about the Ganga and Sagara's sons, what does it all tell us as we approach the main narrative of the Ramayana?
Well, if you connect the dots, these early elements really do establish Sita as an extraordinary figure from the get-go. Her divine connection, her unique upbringing, it sets her apart.
She's clearly not just a princess waiting to be rescued.
Not at all. And Janaka's challenge with the bow, it hammers home the point that her husband needs to be equally exceptional, someone of immense worth, and maybe even divine connection himself.
Right. It raises the stakes for finding her match.
Exactly. And the Ganga story, even though it's a diversion, it paints a picture of the world. They live in a world where gods and humans interact, where lineage matters, where actions have serious, long-lasting consequences. It provides crucial context for you, the listener, about the era.
It sets the stage, really. High stakes, divine involvement.
Precisely. It all foreshadows that major events are coming, events involving these exceptional individuals.
This whole deep dive into Sita's early life, it really makes you appreciate her significance right from the very beginning, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Her story isn't just background. It's woven with divinity, with this sense of inherent value and the weight of expectation. These early chapters are fundamental to understanding her role later on.
So, thinking about all that, the divine birth, the earth connection, the impossible bow challenge, it leaves you with a question, doesn't it? What might these things foreshadow about Sita's destiny and about the kind of person who could actually pass that test, who could be her husband?
That's the perfect question to ponder, I think. The convergence of the divine, the requirement for exceptional worthiness. It suggests that both Sita and her future husband are destined for something far beyond the ordinary. It really gives you food for thought as we move forward in the Ramayana.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.